I have learned in my 10 years of being in business that there's 4 ways to learn a skill, or at least I have learned a skill in 4 different ways. And so the first skill I learned after 7 years of owning a gym. I knew that like the business of owning a gym, it just wasn't for me. Like I didn't feel it. I wanted financial, I wanted time freedom. And upon stumbling upon the cleaning business, like I discovered that it had great margins. The only problem was that I just didn't have any cleaning experience. And so the first way I've learned a skill before is I've just worked for free. And so the first time that I did that was about 5 months from graduating from college. I was getting ready to graduate with an exercise science degree, and I had 0 leads for getting myself a job in the fitness industry. Out of desperation, I searched personal trainers in Bozeman, Montana. And in my head, I was like, I'm just going to reach out to all these personal trainers and see if I can work for them for free. And so 1 month later, I got 1 response back, and it was from this trainer named Sean. And so Sean was a strength conditioning coach for the local high school, and he was a personal trainer at a big gym in Bozeman, Montana. And so Sean ended up becoming my very first mentor, and he taught me everything training industry. Taught me things I didn't even know that I needed to know. And it was one of those moments that I learned more in that first week of shadowing him than I had learned in my previous 5 years in college. And I ended up shadowing him for 6 months. And because of that, giving me an opportunity to get in front of the right people who hired people who worked at the gym he worked at, and it got me my first job. And my first job was a front desk attendant. Taking that job, it got me the next contact I needed to know, which was with the guy inside that gym who actually hired personal trainers. And his name was Josh. And when the time came open for a personal training position and popped up, it was between me and like 4 other people who were like co-students. I ended up getting the job because I worked myself in. Like super grateful for that opportunity to work for free because it fed me for the next 10 years. The next 10 years, it allowed me to live and survive. And it taught me the skill of personal training. Not everybody can be in that position, but if you can, it's amazing. Let's talk about skill number 2 that I learned how to acquire a skill is I learned how to serve. And so let's say about a story about networking group. It was called a biz group. It was a networking group. And it was in that networking group that I ended up meeting this guy named Mike. And so Mike just seemed like an ordinary dude in an ordinary networking group on a Thursday morning in Bozeman, Montana. Well, it was one day when he was talking about his rental properties that my ears perked up a little bit. And so when I sat down with Mike, I discovered the dude was like super successful. And I know you could definitely help me, but I thought to myself, like, how was I going to help him? But if I proposed that instead of him paying me $400 a month, that I could train him for free in exchange for me to learn about real estate, do you think he would take it? And he said yes. And for the next 8 months, we chatted about real estate. But really, what I got out of it was not the skill of real estate, but I got the relationship. And 4 years later, we ended up buying our first investment property together. And today, we actually own $3 million of real estate as partners together. So serving, I think, is one of my favorite things to do because it's fun to be able to share what I know with somebody else. And so if you look at your life and see, what am I good at? And if you want to be able to build a connection with somebody, it's like, just go help them and make the offer to them. The worst thing you can do is say, how can I help you? Then you put it on them to figure it out. Like you figured out, you have the courage to say, I have this skill set. I think you might like it, and be okay if they say no as well. The third way is actually to get paid to learn. First time I really experienced this is when Alex approached me to do high ticket sales for his company gym launch. And I was honored. And so his internal sales training was straightforward. It was really simple. I learned the process. I practiced the words. It was amazing because after all that training, every time I made a sale, I ended up getting paid twice. But most importantly, I got paid with experience. Okay, number 4, this is the way I like to do it now. And again, not everyone has this resource when you first get started, but the point of you making money, the point of you being successful is to be able to do this thing right here. This is how you acquire skills really quickly, and how you can acquire any skill on the planet is you just pay to play. It was like 2020, or 2019 actually, and we had just bought 4 investment properties in 1 year, and man, I was rolling up and down an emotional roller coaster. And so I just was searching for answers, and that search led me to find Chris. And so Chris, he had it all, man. And he had emotional intelligence. And I desired all those, especially I wanted to learn how to respond to my thoughts and feelings. And so it was a unique skill that not many people have or they talked about. And so that required me to basically get as close to Chris as I possibly could. And turned out that solution was going to cost me $100,000. But I also recognized that how important that skill set was, and not only how much money it was going to make me once I learned it, but like, was it worth it for me to actually feel in control, to feel at peace? And so I spent 2 years mentoring with Chris, and the growth, it was fast and furious. And so through mentoring with Chris, I discovered how to become aware of my thoughts and feelings. I learned how to use time to make judgments about my thoughts and feelings. And I practiced my responses to my judgments to my thoughts and my feelings. And through that, I became a much better human. And so, man, that is like one of my favorite ways to learn a skill is literally just to pay someone for the opportunity to learn a lifetime of wisdom. And so specifically in Chris' situation, like he's been learning the skill set for 2 decades, and I was able to shorten that time frame to a couple years. And I think to me, the fact that I can now have that skill, or again, I'll be able to use the skill till I'm 80 years old, plus hopefully I make it past 80, but you know what, freaking worth it.